13th, 2019, and I am interviewing BrianHobbs at the Newport Public Library. What motivated you to join the military?
That's a great question. What motivated? I would say, well, I mean, we come from a long line. My family comes from a long line of soldiers, and you know, my brother, my dad, myself, my father-in-law. You know, both of my grandfathers were in World War II. We've got military family all the way back to the Mexican-American War and the Civil War. So I guess at some level you figure my life isn't any more important than theirs was, and you know, if I don't do it, who's gonna? So I think that's probably the motivation for a lot of guys that join.
Tell me a little bit about your time in basic training.
A lot of people thought basic training was tough, I think. I thought it was pretty easy. I had a good time. I met some good friends and that I wound up getting stationed with later. And I had my drill sergeant, King. He wound up getting Drill Sergeant of the Year, something, you know, the following year. He's a great guy, good motivator. You know, their job is to break you down and to build you back up. And they did a phenomenal job, I felt like, with my platoon in particular.
Tell me, what was your primary job after training?
I was an Apache helicopter crew chief, which I enjoyed immensely. It was a great job. I got to work on a flight line in a hangar, working on multi-million-dollar helicopters, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. Enjoyed what I did. I enjoyed the guys I worked around. I had a great platoon sergeant. I enjoyed it. I was with K Company, Forward Support, Fort Carson, Colorado. But that was, sometimes we'd get stuck working on Black Hawks and stuff if we didn't have enough going on. But it was a lot of fun. You see those helicopters come over a hangar and just shoot, you know, one after another. It's pretty intimidating. You wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. I promise you. So.
Where did you serve the majority of the time in service?
Fort Carson, Colorado is where I spent most of my time. And it was a beautiful place. Colorado Springs, it was nice. I got to drive right along Cheyenne Mountain, and if you don't know what that is, there's a place called NORAD there, and that's where basically the who's who of our government goes in case of a nuclear event. There's a giant holding place under this mountain, and they say that it's on shocks. They've cored it out, and there's a giant lake underneath it. It's supposed to be totally autonomous, totally self-sustaining. So it's pretty interesting. I used to drive by that place every day going, because the airfield, you had the base, and then you had the airfield, which was kind of segregated from the base. It's out there on its own, and it's got its own perimeter fences inside of the other perimeter fence. So it was a nice drive every day. I remember kicking on the Eagles, take it to the limit when I'd get off, and you know, just roll down the windows and go pick up my kids, and it was a good time. It's a good time in life.
What rank are you most proud of to have earned, and why?
Well, I was pulling specialist rank right when I got out, and I had the ability to either get promoted, or I told my platoon sergeant I'd rather my buddy get promoted instead of me, because he was going to be in. He was staying in, and I wasn't. So I suppose that would be my proudest rank, because you know, I was able to help somebody else out in that instead of, you know, taking it.
Which medals or citations are you most honored to have received, and why?
Well, probably my crew chief wings. You know, I got some silver wings, and my dad was able to come out to Virginia and pin those on me. So it was a pretty proud moment. It was a lot of schooling. A lot of guys go in, infantrymen and stuff, and nothing against them, but they'll be in and out of basic training and AIT in a matter of months. I was in basic and AIT for the better part of a year, and unfortunately I didn't know when I was going in. I thought it was going to be different, but when I got to AIT, we actually had drill sergeants there too. So it was it was not what I thought it was going to be. but it was fun, and I was in the best shape of my life, so it was a good time. Had some good people there too.
Tell me about some of the special people you met.
Man, there's so many. And I'm sure everybody has the same story. I mean, you meet a lot of great people, and it's probably, I would say, probably because most of the people are there for the same reason. So it's natural that you share a camaraderie, because at the end of the day, I was fortunate enough that I was in between wars. When I was in, there was no wars going on, and I got out right before 9/11. So I didn't have that to contend with. Many other generations, they spent their time in war. I didn't have that experience, and that good, bad, or ugly. But some of the good people I met, I had a buddy by the name of Dustin Barnes, John Ramon, John Jennis, or some Hines. I could go on and on. There was a lot of them. We had some good times, and some of those stories I probably can't share on camera, but we had some good times back then.
What was the best and the worst military food you were served, and why?
Some of the best? That's another thing that I guess maybe between my dad or my grandpa's era and mine, I love the food. That was like one of my favorite things. I got the basic training, man, and they had food ready every morning. It wasn't cereal. I got eggs, bacon, you name it. I mean, they had it, and I ate like a king. But that was probably, basic was probably the worst of the food, and I was happy with it. But when I got to Carson, in between the post, the main post and the airfield, there was a place, they called it Emerald City, and it was a special forces post. And I had to drive by it every day, and that's where a lot of the tanks would cross the asphalt there in one area, so they'd tear up the whole road. And anyway, I would stop there because they had an all-you-could-eat breakfast for $1. And so I'd stop in there, and let me tell you, those Special Forces guys eat like kings. I mean, every day they had, I would get chocolate milk, regular milk, strawberry milk, grape juice, apple juice, you name it, orange juice, they had it. And they would make you ready to order omelets. You just tell them, I want this, this, and this, and they'd cook you up an omelet right there in front of you. And, I mean, they had, I mean, if you wanted it, they had it. It was phenomenal. That's probably the biggest thing I missed out of that. Man, I ate good every day. But I'd have to kind of sneak in there because I wasn't Special Forces, but it was on the way, and nobody ever flagged me for it, so I just kept doing it.
Tell me a funny story you experienced that could only happen in the military.
Funny experience, anything. Well, like I said, some of these I can't share. I don't know. This one might be a little edgy, but I was in the service with this guy from Austria, which is just, south of Germany. And he joined our service, and we were I believe we were in basic and AIT together. But his name was spelled Lehrmikes, Lee Harmikes, but it was called, he said it was Lehrmikes over there. Well, he struggled with PT, which is physical training. If you didn't pass your run times or your whatever it was, they wouldn't let you off post. Well, us athletic guys, we got off post, like one day a weekend or two sometimes, and we were on him to get him in shape, and we finally got him to pass and got him off post. And a friend of mine, Hines, we took him out, and we'd go out and have a few beers and stuff on the weekends. And well, Hines proceeds to tell this guy that, I mean, he's not used to our cultures. He says, we're going to get you a prostitute, which is totally illegal, but he doesn't know that. And he says, no, I don't want it. The accent of this guy was just too funny, and you had to know the guy. And this guy's like panicking. We're in a cab, and he's just convinced. We're really just going to rent a motel room and watch some HBO and drink some beers. But this guy's like about to dive out of the cab. If you were there, it was hilarious. The expression on his face was just, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The Hines, he kept a straight face the whole time. It was amazing. But that's one that's a little cheeky, but not as bad as others. I'm trying to think of any other good ones. that on.
Were you deployed overseas, and if so, where and what for what?
No, I wasn't. Like I said, I was in and out between wars. So, I mean, I got out in '01, and then 9/11 happened at the end of '01, and I actually tried to re-enlist because I knew all my buddies would be getting deployed. I mean, I knew as soon as they hit those towers, they'd be deploying my unit because we're Apaches, and there was like 5 units of us. I mean, across the United States. So I knew there was a good likelihood my guys would be going, but I'd gotten married, and they told me I had too many kids, that I had to have this waiver and that waiver. Now, keep in mind, they just spent a boatload of money training me to do this job. Well, the irony of it is later they wouldn't give me the waiver to get back in because I wanted to, and my wife was fine with me going in. And well, they called me back. I want to say a year later. I mean, I tried to get in for like a year. I drove myself to Kansas City I had to retest everything, do the, physicals and stuff all over again, and they called me back. I want to say it was like '03-ish, and they wanted they call it the IRR. They call it the Inactive Ready Reserve, and that basically means when you commit, I don't know if you actually have to commit, but once I joined, there's an 8-year period. Regardless of how many years you serve, you can serve all 8 of them, or you can serve 2 of them, or 3 of them, or however many, but you're obligated to an 8-year deal. And after that, they can't recall you. So the IRR called me out of like Kansas City or something, and they said, we want you to go on a peacekeeping mission. And I said, listen, let's not kid each other here. There's no such thing as a peacekeeping mission. You want me to go to war, and that's fine. I'd actually tried to sign back up, and I said I want to be put back in my unit, and I want my rank and my life insurance reestablished. Well, we can't do that. I said, Joel, you want to send me to war with no life insurance policy, and to get busted rank? I said, I tell you what, you guys can do that. You call me back. Never got another call from them. So that was an interesting deal.
What was the most demanding part about your deployment?
No, I wasn't deployed. I was only stateside.
How did your military experience affect your life today?
Whew, that's a great question. I think that's one of those questions that maybe we'll never know. I would say that the military made me more headstrong. Gives you, I think, most people more fortitude. So it probably gave me a lot more drive that I may have otherwise not had. When you realize you can be successful amongst a vast sea of millions of people and be successful and be a good leader and things, it opens up a lot of doors. And it really, I guess, probably opens up doors in your own mind that, I can do this and I can be successful. So I would say that's probably true for a lot of people who've been in it.